Hi, good afternoon. Aloha and welcome to the hearing with the Senate Committee on Economic Development and Tourism. Today is February 4th, 2025 at 1 p.m. and we are in conference room 229. This hearing is being streamed live on YouTube. In the unlikely event that we must abruptly end this hearing due to technical difficulties, we're going to try and reconvene as soon as we're able to. In the event we are not able to reconvene today, a new notice will be posted on the Hawai'i Legislature website. The committee would reconvene for any outstanding business which would occur on Thursday, February 6, 2025 at 1:01 p.m. in conference room 229. The committee hearing has a 90-minute time slot, so there will be a 1-minute time limit for all testifiers. Okay, with that being said, first up on the agenda, Senate Bill 448 relating to agriculture. First testifier, Agribusiness Development Corporation, Wendy Gady.
Chair, members of the committee, we stand in strong support of the bill.
Thank you. Next up, Hunter Heveland with Hawai'i Farmers Union on Zoom.
They're not available on Zoom, Chair.
Okay, thank you. Next up, Brian Miyamoto, Hawai'i Farm Bureau in support. Okay, members, any questions? See none. ADC, please. Hey, Wendy, thanks for being here. So where is the conservation easement in Central Oahu that you guys seeking to acquire?
We didn't name the specific TMK because we're in negotiations, but it is in Central Oahu, kind of north of Kunia. Did you want the exact TMK? Because I can send that to you separately.
Please, if you can.
Yep.
And then you guys have a cost on that for the easement?
We don't, because we didn't want to pursue it without having permission from the committee.
So what is the prospects for agricultural production on this land?
It's good soil, it's good water, and it's former pineapple land.
Okay, so open, it's open.
It's available, and it's going to be very close to the regional kitchen, which would be a nice market.
Okay, sounds good. If you can get back to me on the cost.
Absolutely,
With-
yes.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Next up, Senate Bill 827 relating to meat processing. First up, Department Economic Development and Tourism, Dane, sorry.
Good afternoon, Chair. We stand on a written testimony, submitting comments.
Thank you.
Open questions.
Next up, AG's office, Christopher Leong, or Elise. Elise, sorry.
Chair, Vice Chair, members of the committee, Deputy Attorney General Elise Amemia, appearing on behalf of the Attorney General's office. We thank you for this opportunity to provide comments. Chair, this bill does not appear to contain legally sufficient standards for grants of public money as required by Article 7, Section 3 of the Hawaii State Constitution. So in our written testimony, we have submitted some draft standards as a sample for the committee to work from. Of course, we are available to work with the committee to craft more specific standards, and I am available for questions. Thank you.
Thank you. Next up, Hawai'i Farm Bureau, Brian Miyamoto, in support. Lauren Zerbo, Hawaii Food Industry Association on Zoom.
Good afternoon, Chair, Vice Chair, members of the committee. I'm Alexis Chapman for HFIA. We stand on our testimony in support, and I'd be happy to answer any questions. Thank you.
Thank you. Next up, Pam Tupop, Maui Chamber of Commerce in support. Lanai, Pulama Lanai in support. Hunter Heveland, Hawai'i Farmers Union also in support. Anybody else wishing to testify on this measure? Seeing none, members, any questions? Okay, hang on. Debate, please. So Dean, are you guys aware of the people that are interested in developing or expanding the meat processing facilities in the state?
Yes, so this, and thank you, Chair Dan Wicker, Deputy Director at DBED. So this bill, as you see, we submitted comments. A few things why we did that. We are very aware of the needed capacity that's the state needs to invest in to help the small animal industry, as well as the meat process industry. In our admin budget, we have a request for a small animal processing facility on Oahu. And so we don't want to conflict or compete with the resources. We recognize that. Secondly, there is an opportunity for neighbor islands through some prior appropriations with the value add facilities, for example, with the University of Hawaii and Molokai, as well as the Food and Product Innovation Planning monies we have in the budget. Now, this bill asks for a grant process. If the legislature sees the need to prioritize and go forward with facilities on neighbor island, suggestion would be for brick and mortar facilities to complement not only the small animal processors, but as well as potentially the regional kitchens that will be happening for the Department of Education. As we're working with DOE and the university to create that pipeline, and small animal processing facilities are key in order for them to procure local beef and pork products. A grant proposal, as in a prior bill, a similar bill in the House requested 500,000. That would be way too low. When you're talking about these small animal processing facilities, if you're gonna go with even modular, one unit is 500,000. And in an ecosystem that we've actually went and visited in Kona, they have several modular units of the mobile. So you do butchery, processing, and then pack, chill. That's about 4 facilities. So already you're at 2 million just for the modular units. Plus you're gonna need on-site infrastructure, which includes sewer, water, and slabs. So if it goes forward, maybe look at doing brick and mortar facilities for the neighbor island. And we would be very interested through Agribusiness Development Corporation to help administer that program.
I noticed that, the bill also addresses access deer. How you guys plan on, or in this case, how would they plan on working with those? Because, you're talking hunters that doesn't have capacity. What about the access for them to the facility in the processing?
I don't have a clear response for that, Senator. We would have to meet with those who do the access deer. My only experience with that is when we did go up to Ulupalakua during a WAM site visit, and did see one of the access deer programs there and their mobile slaughter. But for the other outside of that, we would have to work with the industry, as we're doing here on Oahu with the pork industry, to figure out how we can provide the facilities and the wraparound services so they can take their hunt to market.
With the wraparound services, which I think has been a challenge in regards to packing facilities, slaughterhouses, has been inspectors, federal inspectors. Would that also be inclusive of what would be needed?
My conversation, the only conversation I had when it came to inspectors, there used to be within Department of Ag. I think it was funded through Department of Ag. We'd have to check with them how that was. And that might have come up through the Kalailoa, the current Kalailoa facility. That DOA was funded, and they were able to, or it was either federally funded or the state provided the funds so that they could provide the inspectors. But that was an issue that was brought up in a prior conversation.
Because I think we have the state inspectors, they were lacking the federal, and whether or not, because of the access they're in here, I think that inspector had to be on site of the kill.
That was that was part of the discussion we had during the WAM site visit, was having those on site. So however the mechanism to fund that would, probably not with us, that might be maybe something we can discuss with Department
So,
of Ag.
you have an idea of what one federal meat inspector costs?
Not off the top of my head, no.
Okay. But,
We can get you that if you need
Yeah,
to.
if you can,
Yeah.
that would be super helpful. Any other questions for the committee? Okay, seeing none, moving on to Senate Bill thank you, Dean. Moving on to Senate Bill 1269 relating to geothermal resources. First up, debate.
Stand on our testimony and support.
Thank you. Next up, County of Hawaii, Karen Tishima on behalf of Mayor Alameda in support. Councilman James Eustace, Big Island Council in support. Roberta Cabral testifying for Innovators Group, Development Group IDG in person, maybe. Thank you. Next up, Ryan Matsumoto for Waika Consulting.
Hi, Chair. Hi, Chair, Vice Chair. Thank you very much for the opportunity to testify. My name is Ryan Matsumoto. I am the president of Waika Consulting. We are a local-based, Hawaii-based consulting company for energy development projects. And I just wanted to say that I've grown up in the geothermal industry. It was my first job out of the University of Hawaii, and I've participated in the 2001 legislative working group for geothermal. And from that point till now, in addition to working on successful projects in New Zealand, I feel like it's a very viable solution for some of our energy requirements, as well as the requirements of the Hawaii Clean Energy Initiative. And thank you very much. I stand on my written testimony as well.
Thank you. Next up, Greg Shimokawa, Director of Geothermal Resources, testifying for Hawaiian Electric on Zoom.
They're not available on Zoom, Chair.
Okay, in support, Patrick Kahavaiola, testifying on behalf of Komike Okupuna Aina Ho'opulapula on Zoom.
They're also not available on Zoom.
Okay, in support, Zuri Ka'apana Aki for Salt Rural Enterprise and Innovation. In support, Kai Kahele is testifying on behalf of an individual. In support, Don Mars Webster, PhD. Hello. Hi.
Good afternoon, Chair, Senators. You know, after the last 2 weeks of turbulence, it's really good to be here to listen to a bill that's actually going to do better for Hawaii and make it better for those too many who are leaving, not because they want to leave, but because they simply can't afford to live here. And one of the reasons they can't afford to live here is because energy is so expensive. You know that. Hawaii Island pays the highest rates for energy in the nation, and it doesn't have to be that way when it's so rich in geothermal resources that is a very viable, firm power alternative to fossil fuels. And the governor's announcement last week that he's going to move the geothermal renewable goal up for the neighbor islands to 2035 makes a bill like this even more important. This is not a pipe dream, because the good news is DBED has chosen a native Hawaiian company to further the exploration. They've been working on this since 2010, so they know a lot about this industry already. More than that, they've actually acted on it. They've actually built, worked with the Maori Trust in New Zealand at the invitation of the Queen, and actually have a plant online and another one coming online soon.
Okay, thank you. Your time is up, and we have your testimony.
All right, thank you.
Mahalo. Next up, En Chung. Thank you. Next up, Gavin Murphy on Zoom.
Aloha, tēnā koutou from New Zealand. I stand in support of my written testimony. My name's Gavin Murphy. I've spent 30 years in the heavy power industry, with the last 15 specialising in geothermal development, financing, investment and operations. I'm a civil engineer by profession, and as you well know, geothermal forms an integral part of New Zealand's firm baseload power system and can do for the state of Hawaii. I commend all those in the state who are pursuing geothermal because it's a reliable, firm baseload and, importantly, indigenous energy source that you can utilise. It has a very cost-effective long-run marginal cost, and our experience of working with Innovations Developments Group in Aotearoa was excellent. The outcomes for the local community and the landowners where we developed power stations together were brilliant, and they have a strong roadmap of all the steps necessary to bring a geothermal power station development to life as an operating power station. The combination of those work streams and the geoscience is what sets this one apart. Thank you. Aloha.
Thank you. Next up, Cy Bridges on Zoom.
They're not available on Zoom.
Okay, in support, Carl Baker also on Zoom.
They're also not available on Zoom, Chair.
Okay, in support, Mililani Trask on Zoom.
They are here on Zoom.
Okay.
Aloha, aloha legislators. This is Mililani. This year makes the 35th year of my life that I have tried to bring geothermal to the state of Hawaii. 5 measures come to you this session for geothermal. I am opposing all of them, with the exception of this measure. This area is critical for our state, and we need to have oversight by the state EDT. The State of Hawaii Energy Office has never deployed a baseload power generation plan to date. When we look at the impact of this geothermal development and decision, it will guide and control for the next generation or two the amount of energy that we have for our entire state. DBET is the appropriate state agency to handle this. They're the ones that have pursued commercial power generation and the bill.
Thank you, Mililani. Your time is up, but we have your testimony in front of us. Mahalo.
Excuse me, I would just like to make one other comment, Senator.
Okay,
Isn't it time that our senators and our members of the legislature, including the House, go themselves to find out about geothermal in our global region? I'm asking the Senate, including yourself and other members of the
so,
House.
hang on, so Mililani, I'm gonna tell you now, I can answer for the House. We're hearing this bill right now, so I'm gonna be fair to all the testifiers. They have 1 minute. We do have your written testimony, and we are gonna look at it, so mahalo. Next up, Keone Shizuma in opposition, Alice Kim in support, Elizabeth DeYoung in support, Malama Solomon also in support, and Patty Cook in support. Anybody else wishing to testify on this measure? Seeing none, any questions? Senator Kim.
First, just let me make a statement to what Mililani has said, the fact that I remember being in the House of Representatives back in, and that's going to date me, in 1982, 83, 84, where I voted on geothermal. I was, I think, one of 5 members with Matsuura voting in support of geothermal. And since then till now, we're still discussing geothermal, so I just thought I'd say that. But what I wanted to find out, Dean, is what is DBED doing to coordinate all the geothermal bills, the geothermal proposals that is coming forth?
Thank you, Senator. So the legislature last year gave us an appropriation, which was a total of $3 million after the reduction. That was executed by Hawaii Technology Development Corp. in a memorandum of agreement with the University of Hawaii, who's contracted out. We're also in discussion and coordination with Hawaii State Energy Office. They've received funding from the Department of Energy. And so we're making sure we're not overlapping or duplicating the work that they are doing with the Hawaii State Energy Office. And moving forward, we're still going to have that dialogue and conversation. The discussion and contract with HTDC and UH is focused on Hawaii Island. HSEO has been focused on exploration for Maui and Oahu. We're already in phase 1, my understanding, with deliverables on community engagement and identifying to move forward where potential resources can be. We support this bill as appropriation would help DBED to go out and seek a contractor for phase 2, which is the geoscience and actual exploration. The plan is to identify spots with the technology so that we can share that information for a private commercial entity to come forward and take on that responsibility.
Okay.
So coordination within DBED and our attached agencies, yes.
Well, I'm looking at a bill that I'm hearing today jointly at 3 o'clock, and it's a geothermal bill. It's relating to geothermal energy exploration, University of Hawaii. I don't see any testimony from DBED. I don't see any coordination. And so they're asking for money, and you folks are asking for money here. So I'm wondering, you need to give the legislature and the members an idea of all of these bills and how they're going to work together or not work together. Because I don't want to go into this hearing at 3 o'clock and pass something out that's, I don't know how it's going to be related.
And you're right, Senator, there is a challenge. A lot of these bills introduced are outside of admin. And so the ones that do mention us specifically, first and foremost, we're capturing and sharing that information on how we collectively within DBED are on geothermal.
So have you looked at Senate Bill 993?
Not all in depth, no.
Okay, well, I challenge you to look at it and come back at 3 and tell us how this is going to work together. Okay?
993 SP?
Yes. 3 o'clock jointly, we're hearing it jointly with Energy and Intergovernmental Affairs. And that's another thing. So we have geothermal bills heard in different committees so that it's so disjointed instead of being collectively put together so we can have a good picture of it.
Understood. Thank you.
I think energy is some geothermal and energy coming.
Yes.
So how many geothermal bills you're aware of that moving through the legislature?
Specific
now?
number, I don't know, but at least I think I passed and quickly reviewed the about 3 or 4 of them, touching State Energy Office, Department of Hawaiian Homeland Security, but
Kind of along the lines of Senator Kim, can you guys figure out what is the best way we kind of just like loop these bills kind of together and, via DBED? Yeah, that would be super helpful, because right now, I guess we've just been inundated with so many bills that, everybody wants their stuff heard, but I kind of wanted to lead from you guys.
can do.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Any other questions from the committee? Okay, seeing none.
Thank you, Senator.
Thank you. Moving on to Senate Bill 1337 relating to Stadium Authority. First up, DBED. DBED.
Testimony support.
Okay, thank you. Next up, Chris Ariasu, Interim Stadium Manager.
Chris Ariasu, State Authorities, and support. Thank you for hearing this bill.
Thank you. Anybody else wishing to testify on this measure? Members, any questions? Okay, Stadium Authority, Chris, please. Chris, how big of a problem you guys have in reaching quorum at your meetings?
We haven't had problems recently. It's just that because we only have 8 voting members right now, we have 9, but only 8 of the positions are filled, the directors are filled. We need 6 in the current interpretation of our statutes to pass. So we haven't had issues right now, but it's something that we'd like to clarify and just have the voting members be counted for quorum.
Any delay in conducting meetings?
No, not right now.
Thank
How
you.
many ex-officials you had that non-voting?
2?
Two.
2. So we have 11 total, 9 voting, 2 ex officio, non-voting.
Okay, and is there a problem with members showing up?
No, we've been able to hold our meetings recently, yes. Yeah, but we only have 8 seated voting members. So that's why if we need 6 to pass any actions, then we need 6 voting members to
Yeah,
be
they
there.
should be there, though, if they want to serve on the authority, right?
Yes.
Thank you. Okay, moving on to Senate Bill 883 relating to hotels. First up, Christopher Hahn, Attorney General. Thank you.
Good afternoon, Deputy Attorney General Christopher Hahn with comments on the bill. The notice requirements under this bill could implicate the First Amendment, so we do under commercial speech. So we recommend inserting a preamble with a purpose. We've pointed to an example for the committee's convenience. We also recommend inserting a non-impairment savings clause at the end, since hotel reservations are contractual in nature. Thank you.
Thank you. Next up, Benjamin Sadowski, for Unite Here Local 5, sorry.
Thank you, Chair, members of the committee. I'm Jolie Tokusato. Unite Here represents over 10,000 workers in hotel, healthcare, airport, and food service. We stand in strong support of SB 83 with the amendments noted in our written testimony. When consumers book hotel rooms, they have certain expectations based on what the hotel or third-party vendor's website advertises. Visitors put a great deal of money into their vacations, and they deserve to get what they pay for. When their expectations are not met, it is incumbent on us to mitigate this as much as possible. We want people to have a good impression of our state, and they will want to come back. This is an extension of transparency in advertising and sales, yet it does not always happen. Sometimes things come up, construction projects, closures, renovations, labor disputes. We hope to avoid these things, but it's not always possible or practical. So our union has found that guests are not always notified of service disruptions. We have taken steps to notify them, but it's not always possible to reach out to individual hotel guests. So we will hope that you pass out this bill. Thank you so much. Thank you.
Thank you. Next up, Stephanie Donoho.
They're not present on Zoom, Chair.
Okay, in opposition, Randy Pereira testifying for State AFL-CIO in support, and Veronica Moore in support. Anybody else wishing to testify on this measure? Seeing none, any questions for the committee? Senator Kim.
I don't know who to ask. Who would implement this measure? Do you know? Who would implement it? Who would enforce it? Who would implement it? Anybody from the hotels? Anybody from in support of it? Unite Hawaii? Anybody?
They're not sure.
Okay, well, if you guys want us to pass this, you have to give us reason at this point. So I just want to know, and then what happens if there's an interruption and they don't? What's the penalty? You're gonna shut down the hotel? I mean, what's the penalty?
Well, I think it was 3 times the amount that the guest paid or something to the. in
So
their
the hotels
testimony.
have to pay the guests whether they complain or not, or just the ones that complain?
You know what, I really, I can't say on
Okay, but
every
you guys
single.
are supporting this,
Absolutely,
so you
yeah.
gotta give us-
You know, we were on strike line for 40 days, right? And so we had a lot of people come up to us during that time period, and they were pretty upset because they'd come in and already we were on strike for several days, and they were not aware that there was a service disruption. So that's where this has come from. You know, I'm sorry, I'm not, don't know all the details on what.
But service disruption doesn't only mean strikes.
No,
right?
no,
Yeah,
no.
It could be anything, right?
Yeah.
Could be heavy rains, could be, a hurricane, could be,
Where, I
anything,
think
right?
it would be, I'm a hotel worker, right? And so I think in my mind, it would be more like if you have a construction project, for instance, they renovate the hotels from time to time. And a lot of people, when they come in, they're very upset if they weren't aware of it. Or, say you have a wedding that you're gonna be planning. So all of those, yeah, so it would be more something that you can foresee and let somebody know about. I'm not sure if it
but once you
relates
put
to
it-
weather.
Yeah, once you put it in the law though, then we have to have, what enforcements, what's the penalties? What happens if it doesn't go on? What rights do people have because they can take us to court
think they
based,
put-
based on the law? They take us to court? I mean, so these are all the questions that I would have on, whether or not
I
to
think-
support something like this.
In the amendments, I think that we put in something about private right of actions, and so that might address some of those things, but, anything that I haven't addressed, to your satisfaction, we can certainly go ahead and get back to you.
Thank you. AJ? Okay, you raised a concern, right, about First Amendment?
Yes.
So can you elaborate?
Sure. So when you're requiring someone to provide a notification, you're compelling them to say something, to provide certain information, whether they like to or not. And that's why we believe that there's a First Amendment issue. We are not particularly identifying this as commercial speech, which is afforded less scrutiny, because this is speech that happens in an economic context, right? This is a hotel keeper that's providing services while receiving money. So it's slightly less deferential. The government does have the right to impose such notification requirements, but generally you do need to have a legitimate government purpose, which is why we're recommending a purpose section.
Okay, and what about enforcement? Do you see anything about enforcement in here?
I did not see anything about
Any
enforcement
kind
here.
of remedies in here?
Not that I'm aware of.
So,
It does appear to be appropriate for a private right of action perhaps, but in
Other
terms
than
of just
that.
the language that was suggested, it doesn't indicate anything otherwise.
okay, thank you.
Okay, any other questions? Seeing none, moving on to Senate Bill 732 relating to film industry. First up, Creative Industries, Georgia Skinner.
Hi, good afternoon, Representatives. Thank you for hearing this measure. We stand in strong support and are here for any questions. Thank you.
Thank you. Next up, Gary Suganuma, on behalf of Department of Taxation.
Hello, Senators Winston Wong on behalf of the Department of Taxation. The Department stands as written testimony available for questions.
Thank you. Next up, Christopher Lee, University of Hawaii, in support. Valea Constantino, City and County of Honolulu. Thank you. Next up, Mauricia Elmore for SAG-AFTRA Hawaii Local.
Hi, SAG-AFTRA here in support and also available for any questions.
Thank you. Next up, Tuyana Scanlon for IATSE 665.
Chair, Vice Chair, members of the committee, Tuia Scannon, President 665, IATSE International Trustees, stand strong support on written testimony available for questions.
Thank you. Next up, Hawai'i Media, Daniel Rossner. Hello.
Aloha, Chair DeCoit. My name is Daniel Rosner. I'm the president of Hawai'i Media, largest provider of camera, lighting, grip, production equipment services in Hawaii since 1992. Also a member of IATSE Local 665, union representing technicians and artisans in the entertainment industry in Hawaii and working as a key grip on local sets for over 40 years. Strongly support SP 732. There's been much focus on workforce development in our industry locally, and rightfully so. These are well-paying, career-oriented jobs which serve to both diversify and support historically tourism-centric economy. Unfortunately, workforce development is meaningless in an environment in which there is no underlying industry. And we know now that we have no viable industry without a strong and reliable tax credit incentive. To illustrate this point, let me tell a story about an investment that I made years ago that I will never do again. Absent a change in attitude of the state with respect to the film tax credit.
Sir, can, your time is up, and we have your testimony. All right. Thank you, I appreciate it. Next up, Ricardo Galindez for Island Film Group.
Good afternoon, Chair, Vice Chair, members of the committee. This will be my 20th year testifying at these hearings, and I won't name names, but 20th year testifying in front of some of the people on this committee. As most of you know, I'm the co-founder of Island Film Group, the largest local film and TV production company. We do commercials, local films, international commercials, as well as feature films. We are in support of most of the things in this bill, and I'll go quickly. The independent third-party certificate, very important if anybody's going to look at it. Currently, when we provided these certificates, the film office didn't look at it, Department of Tax is not looking at it. They are, unless they're forced to use this in a way to improve the process, then they're just cost money. Total tax credit amount, I think we believe should be raised to $100 million based on the DBED survey of the tourist impact, the film industry impact of film and TV that shows $121 million of tax revenue. So irrespective of everything else, you have my testimony. Thank you.
Thank you. Next up, Tamiya Machika, Tax Foundation of Hawaii on Zoom.
Hey.
They don't look like Tom.
Can't hear you.
Yeah, can you state your name, please?
How's that? Better?
Hi.
Aloha. This is Jade McMillan for Tamiya Machika on behalf of the Tax Foundation of Hawaii. We have submitted some comments on the measure, and we'll go ahead and stand on our written comments. Thank you.
Thank you. Next up, Randy Pereira for AFL-CIO in support. Charles Uehara, SAG-AFTRA Hawaii in support. Brian Wallace, IATSE 665 in support. Sean Joseph Takeo testifying in support for Kamamo House. Tara Laulu, Hawaii Film Industry in support. Shireen Ballas in person. Hello.
Aloha mai kako.
Aloha.
Well, Shireen Dallas. I represent myself.
Yeah,
Just kidding.
Perfect.
Actually,
No,
I'm
you
here,
do,
I'm
according to
here as a
this.
SAG-AFTRA member. I've been an actress for 15 years. I've actually had to break into the producer role and director role and all those things as I made my own short film. But I'm in strong support of this measure, as it is an amazing thing for our Kanaka people, as well as our Malihini and anyone who comes in to do these productions. At the moment, I don't have any work. At the moment, all of us have no work. They all have gone to school. Majority of them went to film school. Some of them have come into it because they have the skills to work in this industry, as far as in the cameras, as far as in the background behind the camera. Like all those people that are making money with the actors that are making money. Yes, I'm a background actress, but the ones that are making money in the front, the people in the back are not making that money right now because of this tax incentive not going forward. We need it to be raised so that we can have the productions here, not in New Zealand, not in Georgia, nowhere else but here, and be the storytellers.
Thank you.
Mahalo.
Mahalo. Thank you.
And thank you so much for introducing this bill to us.
Mahalo. Next up, Sally Kale Davis for SAG AFTRA on Zoom.
They're not available on Zoom, Chair.
Okay, in support, Marie Hathaway for SAG AFTRA in support, Jeline Courier in support. You know, okay, there's a lot of support. I'll just say it. Plenty support. 1, 2, 3. Okay, anybody else wishing to testify on this measure? Seeing none, any questions from the committee? Senator Fukunaga.
Maybe for DBED and for Tax Department, the representative from Tax Department. I know there's been, a lot of support and hundreds of pages of testimony, but I was concerned, Mr. Rosner's testimony regarding the, I guess, inability to complete whatever processing was needed for his credits and for others. Does the department keep track of instances where credits are not either completed or, they are not fulfilled? And what kind of follow-up occurs with the applicants?
Filer. Let me just speak from the DBID aspect. Georgia Skinner, Head of Creative Industries, and we oversee the tax credit unit, and David Keeley-Iholokai is also here for any questions. Once we certify the tax credits, and we have provided to the legislature every year the roster of people that have applied and what the amounts are. Once we certify it and they turn it into DOTAX, then it's really up to DOTAX at that point in time to make a determination if there is an issue. And we are aware of delays, and maybe it can be addressed by Winston.
Sure. Winston Wong, Administrative Rules Officer on behalf of the Department of Taxation, Director Gary Suganuma. I'm aware that there are delays with the issuance of refunds or issuance of credits. This can be due to a number of things. This can be due to an audit, a disagreement with the taxpayer on expenses. I can't go into specific details of specific audits, but and another issue has also been the prior lack of staffing exclusively on film audits. Film audits are a really specific type of audit. The accountants who work on them and issue these types of certifications are usually far and few between, oftentimes not in Hawaii. So to find people that can especially work on these audits is a challenging task. In the past, the department hasn't had these auditors. We have people dedicated specifically now who may have not come from the film industry, but they're being trained on the job. They are getting up to speed. So the department's plan to address that is to have full-time staff dedicated exclusively to these film audits.
So with respect to, I guess, Mr. Rosner's experience and CBS, it seems that, there must be instances where if there are delays, to what extent are the applicants kept informed or apprised of the status of their claims and, whether or not additional information is needed and, how they can address those concerns?
I agree, Senator. The onus falls on the department and its staff. If it's being held up by the department and through an audit or some denial of a claim for the credit, then it falls on our staff and not DBED. DBED has already certified that credit, but in the instance where the claim has already been filed, it's already been certified, then it falls upon the department and our own staff and our own auditors, our own supervisors to really manage that and ensure that they're being followed up with, the taxpayers are being followed up with.
It's kind of a big spectrum, to have at both ends delays that sound kind of concerning. And definitely even from another testifier who cited the lack of review of certifications that are currently being made, it seemed as though in the testimony that the, I guess, independent third-party certificate may not be reviewed directly by the Film Office and Department of Taxation.
No.
Is that not
That's
an
not
accurate statement?
I would ask, David Keely-Iholokai, who is the leader of the tax credit unit, to address that. But I think in this case, and depending on what year that was, and we'd be happy to talk to the testifier about it, we do very carefully now, with an online system, have a very drilled down way in which everyone is applying for the credit. And as soon as that gate opens and the filers come in at the 90th day, end of the 90th day, no later than after their production tax credit year, then at that point, they start the entire process. And it does take some time, and David can share that with you, but they're in constant communication by email, and if there is an issue, we'd love to address it.
Okay.
I would also like to add that it is a big issue with the delay in payment, and we've had multiple conversations with the Department of Taxation and from the DBED perspective, because they are our partners in this program. And we have brought to their attention the concerns about the delays to find out why, as soon as we heard about it from one of the major studios, for example. So we are very proactive about it, and we have to work as partners together to be able to resolve it.
Just to add on that, Senator, with regards to looking at the certification or looking at, I guess, the pre-approved review that's conducted by the taxpayers before they submit their claims. I can't speak to what has happened before I came to the department around last year, mid-ledge, but in my time, at least here at the department, I can tell you that when I get something across my desk, when something comes from a film audit or from a film credit review and it includes a certification, I ensure that we look at it. It provides useful information, at least from what I've been able to look at, and it's really expedited my review of these cases. I can't speak to what happened before, but I can tell you now that certification, that review process, it really does make my job easier and our job easier when we do review them.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Senator Kim.
So does the workforce development not credit, but
Percentage,
requirements,
yes.
does that also fall under the tax department?
No, that's on our side.
That's on your side,
Yes.
so that doesn't do that. And but you folks have to certify that's being given and.
Correct.
And accurately before you certify them, right? But it appears that that's not been happening.
No, it has. David, do you want to comment on that?
Well, no, I don't
Okay.
want to go into a long thing, but
All right.
we did this whole long thing about that, and that we had people who didn't receive the 19,000, they only got 5,000, so obviously there's been some,
I think,
problems with this, with you guys checking, and you guys admitted that you weren't checking on all of this, right? That you weren't verifying that it was paid and that the users got it, and, okay, really quick. Because it all goes into the certification, right?
Aloha, David Keely-Iholokai. I'm the Incentives and Exemptions Manager, so I manage the Hawaii Film Tax Credits. So yes, every workforce development is properly tracked. I think your question was regarding it being dispersed to the schools
Right.
and the amounts being a little bit off, but I remember UH bringing up that they charge 5% off of whatever
Yeah, but
the,
19,000 and 5,000 is not 5%.
can you send me the exact
Yeah,
example
you
of
folks
it?
No, you folks have it.
The 19,000, which school was that
Yeah,
for, which production?
Kaiser. It was Kaiser.
Kaiser? I can pull it up for you.
I know,
Everything is
I called-
calculated towards the
You said
so you
you guys
gotta,
were going to give us that information. I haven't gotten it yet.
so I can pull that information. We base it off of the total qualified spend. So it's 0.1% of the total qualified spend. That amount we require the filers to submit.
Okay. All I'm saying is you gave us the numbers, and on those numbers, you showed 19,000 to Kaiser. When I called Kaiser and asked them, and they checked, and it took a while, they only got 5,000.
So Senator, something to keep in mind is that the amount that we gave you was in compilation of multiple productions. So maybe it was specific to a specific, I can give you that separate
Well,
report
you gave us the
by
whole list. They
production.
got two. They got
Okay.
two. Kaiser got two. One they got for 27th, I forgot what it was, and the other one was 19.
I can clarify with you. I'll send you an email regarding that.
Well, we brought this whole thing up at the last meeting, so you should have
Yes.
gotten all of that information and gotten back to us.
I can follow up. I'll follow up with you.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Can you just give us the breakout, the compilation and the breakout if it was in increments, that's the 5%?
The
There was a
5%.
5%
The 0.1%?
deduction, yeah.
So I don't
From
know, that's what
foundation,
UH,
that's
that was
yeah.
specific to UH. It was like a 5% kind of charge. It's like off the top. So that's why there was a variance in the amounts. So that's on UH. They would, So once we submit once we submit or the production submit the checks over, UH would take that percentage off. Yes.
A quick question for Island Film Group, Ricardo, are you still here? Oh, there he is. So, thank you. You put in as an amendment, and you mentioned the studios, adding the definition of qualified production studio projects that are located in this on state or county property.
Yes.
So, have you folks ever done anything with the West Oahu Film Studio?
We are just received documents from the university for a development agreement and ground lease. Yes, we are moving forward.
Okay, so in what manner? I mean,
With,
with using the studio? The West
I'm
Oahu-
sorry?
Which the West Oahu Academy of Creative Arts Studio that's on the campus.
Not the ACM building.
Yes.
This is the 34 acres.
No, I'm talking about the building.
No, we are not involved in that.
That's what I'm asking.
Oh, I'm sorry.
So, you talk about adding them as a project as part of this.
Right.
And I'm
As a
asking you, have you folks utilize the studio there now at all? The West Oahu ACM studio?
No, that's a school training facility that is not designed for actual production.
Well, it was sold to us as it was going to assist the film, and that when the studio is built out there, that it could be
Right.
used and so
That
forth.
studio is 3,000 square feet.
Right.
A proper film stage studio is 18,000.
Right.
Yeah, so those are the studios that we need to build to house the Moanas and the Lilos and the things like
Because
that.
we were told that studio was built to industry standards, and that it could be rented out and so forth. So I'm just following up to see, when you say add production studios, that would be one of the studios, but you're saying
No. What we're saying is that, what we're requesting is that, like a film or a TV series or a commercial that is a qualified production, if someone is going to spend money on a film studio located on state or county property, that would also qualify as a production, as it will remain a permanent fixture as part of our
Yeah,
infrastructure.
and we were hoping
But-
that the studio would be one of those, so.
Yeah,
Okay,
yeah,
got it, thank you.
you're welcome.
Thank you, D-Ben. Please. Thank you, Director. How often is the current, I think this is your question, how often is the current 50 million cap exceeded?
Okay, that's,
Oh, sorry.
that's a David K. question. And that's why we make sure he stayed where he's at.
Okay, so in 2021, it exceeded by 15.57 million. 2022, it exceeded by 27.45 million. 2023, 11.71 million. And 2024 is pending as we're currently reviewing the applications.
And when it exceeds, what happens?
So it's a carryover. So the amounts will go over to the next year. So it's kind of like a fancy IOU. So it'll go over to the next year, which means that 50 million will decrease. Yes. So for example, 2021, beginning balance was 50 million. 2022, the beginning balance was 34.43 million. 2023, the beginning balance was 22.55 million. And 2024, 38.29 million because of the carryovers.
So you don't have a cutoff then?
It depends. We haven't gotten to that point where we would have a cutoff, but it's not good that we always have to begin with such a small amount.
Yeah.
So
Hard to
that,
track that.
yes.
So what is a fair start?
So this bill states 60 million. We're being realistic. I think we tried for 75 million on that point. But it's also, I wanted to advise that it's not only the annual cap, it's the per production cap, right? As you guys heard the issue. But if you up the per production cap, you got to up the overall annual cap. Because in instances like an R&D tax credit, if you up the per production cap, some people may be able to take all of it, and that doesn't leave much for the smaller productions. So we want to be equal across the board.
And if you keep upping it and the costs keep going above and you keep minusing it, then it's like, it never ends, right?
Yes, it never ends. We don't want to be in the red the next year after the next year.
Right.
Yes.
So how do we solve that?
For now,
Yeah,
Sorry.
you can't keep upping it, so what do you do? Do you give caps?
Well, we have currently capped, so for per production, that's 17 million. And so as you heard from Chief of War, there are some issues with that because of the per production cap. But if you were to up that for productions like Chief of War, we have to up the annual cap overall, or else the smaller productions will hurt. They won't be able to receive, oh, I mean, just an assumption based off of the R&D tax credits I work on as well. It happens, like, out of 30 or 40 filers for the R&D tax credit, only 11 get to claim because there's no cap per filer. And so I see the same thing happening for the production tax credit as well.
And as good and as big as Chief of War can be and is, we still have the small little productions that I'm sure you folks would make that as a directive to us to help the small guys, the next Jason Momoa, or productions like Brian Kelana and
Or the
people like
Mrs.
that.
Jason Momoa. No. So.
And we know the Senate has been very supportive of this issue, and we appreciate what the legislature appropriates, but I mean, you can just see from the testimony and you know, our data that it's hard to keep chasing our tail every year.
Let me ask you a question. If I was to stream in prime time, I don't know, say 5:00, say prime time, what would that cost me for stream that?
It's more of a, sorry, I want to defer to George.
And I'm talking, when I streaming all across the world. What kind of marketing they give me? What that cost me to market Hawaii off of 5:00? If I had to buy that spot.
Jump in here anytime. So in terms of streaming, which you're talking about, like a Netflix, Hulu, Amazon, Apple, Apple Plus, what would they give you in terms of?
No, what would I pay to have them stream that?
Oh,
Right.
probably you'd have to pay 80 million or more.
It's on the conservative side or?
Yeah, that's the conservative side. I mean, a production like, 100 million is what Chief of War is, for 8 episodes, which blows out of the water basic broadcast television primetime. So we are dealing with 2 very, very different industry mix now. And that's another reason why Hawaii is seeing an attrition in attraction of business, just because of the ability for us to, we know we have to balance this credit against what our resources are, but also it's really hurting our workforce. And they've been out of work for a long time. So we're grateful that the legislature has these bills to, entertain this session. But yeah, you could.
So if she streams it and it costs that much, how much?
For
would-
one.
How much would she get as far as revenue?
It depends on the accountants and how they, how they call the money. There will be in streaming, it's a different category, and perhaps Marisha might have some also feedback on this in terms of actors. But if I'm not mistaken, actors' deals in streaming are paid up front without the residuals, and then in broadcast, they still are. So there's a lot of different streams of funding that you're going to get. So it's hard to answer the question, but why don't we do this? We'll do some research and get it back to you. Yeah.
Thank you.
Along with the chart.
Thank you. Any other questions? Okay, seeing none, moving on to Senate Bill 1569 relating to sports wagering. First up, Director Tokioka from DBED.
Thank you, Chair. DBED stands on its written testimony with comments.
Good comments or bad comments?
What comments we have? It's in the testimony.
Well, yeah, but nobody has it, but, so the public don't know what's your.
Okay, so I'll read the testimony.
Two sentences.
DBED offers comments on SB 1569, which allows for the regulation of sports wagering by DBED and establishes licensing requirements for sports wagering operators and sports wagering suppliers. The main purpose of this legalization, sports waivers, are the regulating the operation and increasing state revenue. None of the 39 states plus Washington, D.C. in the nation with legalized sports wagering use an economic development agency to regulate and manage sports wagering operations. DBED may not be the best to be regulating an agency for this operation in our state. Also, for the feasibility of operations, the following items may need to be clarified. The resource allocating, including funding sources and organization structure, the usage of tax proceeds, the 100-day requirement after the bill becomes law to qualify. A minimum of 4 operators seems too short. If there are less than 4 applicants or less than 4 qualified, the minimum of 4 operators and approval requirements might be unreasonable. The sports wagering system testing and certification requirements could exclude existing Hawaii firms since there has been no operation in the state. Thank you for the opportunity to testify.
Thank you.
But we also know that this is the first stage, so those are some of the questions that we had.
Okay, so
that
just
needed
for the record,
clarification.
just because you went over time was because Sharon asked some question, and now I want to cut you off too. Nah, okay, sorry.
I think it's important
yeah,
that
it
the
is.
public
Yeah,
understands where
what you
you
the-
stand,
yeah.
where you
Yeah.
stand on this.
So, thank you for the clarification.
Okay, thank you.
Next up, AG's office, David Williams on Zoom in person.
Good afternoon, Chair, Vice Chair, members of the committee. My name is David Williams. I'm a Deputy Attorney General with the Criminal Justice Division. The department respectfully opposes the bill because it's concerned that legalized gambling in the form of sports wagering and fantasy sports conducted by business corporations and other money-making enterprises on a large scale in Hawaii will increase the risk of adverse financial effects on Hawaii's citizens. Studies have shown that legalized gambling has resulted in increased bankruptcy, negative effects on the family, and even domestic violence, especially in families from the most vulnerable economic households. However, if the committee does advance the bill, the department offers comments regarding the penalty section, page 26. Currently, it's not comporting with the Hawaii Penal Code. And so we did offer some language to address that. And we also pointed out something on page 44 about changing the definition of gambling, stakes or risks. The committee could take a look at that as well. I'm available for questions. Thank you.
Thank you. Next up, Gary Suganuma, Department of Taxation.
Well, Chair, Vice Chair, members of the committee, Winston Wong on behalf of the Department of Taxation. Tax has submitted comments and testimony. We stand by those comments available for questions.
Thank you. Next up, Director Salavaria from Department of Budget and Finance with comments. Carlota Almarino testifying on behalf of OIP in person, maybe not. Jerome Pacaro, Captain, Honolulu Police Department in opposition, Boyd Gaming in opposition, George Paris, Managing Director, here in person. You don't look like him. Come.
Good afternoon, Chair, Vice Chair, committee members. My name is Dwayne Bautista, and I will speak on behalf of our Managing Director, T. George Paris. He has his written testimony, but because we have 1 minute, I'll summarize it real quick. So the Ironworkers Stabilization Fund strongly supports the legalization of sports wagering in the state. From 2021 to 2022, 67,000 residents that left Hawaii for because it was expensive for job, they needed job opportunities and better living. Alice reported about 180,000 residents are considering relocating. The reason for it is Hawaii's become too expensive. By legalized gambling, we believe that it would help finance a lot of programs like education, healthcare, based off the new tax revenue or money that was generated. It's about time that we legalize gambling. We've been fighting it forever, and Hawaii needs some new money to help out Hawaii and the economy, and it will create more jobs also. Thank you for you guys' time. Aloha.
Thank you. Next up, Rebecca London on Zoom testifying for DraftKings.
Good afternoon, Senator DeQuate and members of the committee. My name is Rebecca London. I am a senior government affairs manager at DraftKings, one of the leading sports wagering operators in the country. I have submitted written testimony in support of this bill, and I would welcome any questions that the committee may have of me. Thank you again for your consideration.
Thank you. Next up, Jeremy Limon, Director of Government Affairs, testifying for BetMGM on Zoom.
Good afternoon, Chair DeQuoit, members of the committee. My name is Jeremy Limon. I'm a Director of Government Affairs, submitting testimony on behalf of BetMGM, a top online sports betting company with active operations in 29 North American jurisdictions. Just like my colleague, Rebecca, I've submitted testimony, written testimony, and stand ready for any questions you may have.
Thank you. Next up, Kathleen Owen, Attorney for Sports Betting Alliance in support. Gino Sequina, Executive Director for Building and Construction Trades in person.
Good afternoon, Chair DeQuoit, Vice Chair Wakai, and committee members. My name is Gino Sequina. I'm the Executive Director of the Hawai'i Building and Construction Trades Council, which represents 18 construction trade unions here in the state of Hawaii. Although I normally come and testify on behalf of construction and labor issues, just wanted to let you know that the Hawai'i Building and Construction Trades Council and its affiliates are supporting this bill because we are committed to finding solutions to keep Hawaii's residents from moving out of state. And for those reasons, you have my testimony, and I am. Thank you guys for the opportunity to submit testimony. Thank you.
Thank you. Next up, Steve Robertson in opposition, Corey Weston in opposition, Michael Yadal in person.
Thank you, Chair, Vice Chair, Senators. My name is Mike Yadal from the Operative Plasters and Cement Masons International Association. You have our testimony and strong support. The only thing that I wanted to add to that, Chair, is that it's not typical for us to provide testimony on matters outside of the construction space, but this means a great deal to both our leadership, Peter T. Uriarty, our business manager, and our membership. They've all kind of commented that we need to stand in strong support of measures like these. And so we're available for any questions about their support. Thank you.
Thank you. Next up, Nel Kahele.
Chair, I'm just going to stand on my testimony.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Anybody else wishing to testify?
Hi, Chair, Vice Chair, members of the committee. Thank you guys for, my name is Cody Sula. Thank you for the opportunity to testify. Also with the iron workers as well. Just wanted to add support to this bill. It's not so much about, like what the other guys are saying. It's not so much about gaming or sports wagering. It's about keeping people home. A lot of the headlines in the newspapers recently talked about the school lunches going up. You got to find money for that. Tourism isn't bouncing back. So this is just another step forward to diversifying the economy and keep providing relief with the funding to our local people. So thank you for the opportunity.
Thank you. Next up.
Good afternoon, Madam Chair and fellow committee. My name is Cliff LeBoy with the Iron Workers Stabilization Fund, Local 625. I just want to read off a list of supporters. We've had a meeting with a lot of our affiliates, and all of these unions support this bill. Electrical, 1186, elevators, 126, plasters, Local 630, insulators, 132, bricklayers, Local 1, plumbers, 675, sheet metal, 293, Hawaii Teamsters, 996, IBEW, 1260, Boilermakers, 627, Iron Workers, 625, Painters, 1791, Glazers, 1889, Ford Lasers, 1926, Drywall Tapers, 1944, Roofers, 221, Operating Engineers, Local 3, Total of 34,500 members support your bill, with approximately 138,000 counting the families and friends.
Can I have a copy of that?
Yes, you
for-
can have this.
Thank you. Thank you
Thank you
for your
very much for
testimony.
your time.
Anybody else wishing to testify? Seeing none, any questions from the committee?
Yeah, I have a question.
Senator Kim.
Yvette. Do you have any idea, any estimates as how much revenue this will bring into the state? If something like sports betting would,
Yeah, so there've been different numbers floated around by, professionals from even Boyd and others and other surveys, and it's clear that it's a big difference of opinion. So one spectrum said 17 million, another one said 30-something million. So I'm guessing it's somewhere in between. I would say that, for the legislature and for DBED, we don't want to see the illegal gaming. Nobody wants to see that. You see people getting hurt on those types of things. But for our testimony, we just wanted to get, better clarification.
no, I just kind of wondered because I keep hearing the unions keep saying that it'll keep people here. But even if it's on the high of 37 million, is that enough to keep people here in Hawaii? I mean, I know it's a multitude of different things.
Yeah.
Because I keep saying, for me, it's not necessarily the money, but to stop the illegal wagering, to make it safe so people know that they can do it and not have their fingers cut off if they don't pay or whatever. And that if there's revenues from it, then fine. But I just don't want people out there to think that this is the panacea, because sports betting, it doesn't necessarily generate that much revenue coming out of it. So,
You're absolutely right,
Yeah.
Senator. And, you've been through many different iterations of gaming bills. This, I believe, even when I was in the legislature, it was a step. But,
So
I
how
think-
much, how many people from Hawaii go to Las Vegas yearly? And how much money do they deposit in Las Vegas?
we're going to have to ask Syria.
Syria.
I can get that information to you, Senator. I don't have it at the top of my head.
Because I venture that it's more than 37 million that we would take as a revenue income from sports betting.
Yes.
You have that information?
I got some numbers here. Just Hawaiian Air alone, four trips per week, 275 bodies on each plane. Totals up to about 33,000 people per month. Goes to Vegas, just coming out of Honolulu, not talking Hilo, Kona, Maui, Kauai. Airfare alone, we're looking at about $23 million. All of that money could stay here. Not talking about rooms and food and everything
Well,
else.
if they each drop, I don't know, $200, $500,
That's
A
the
minute.
low
That-
side.
No, so I'm just making a point.
When I
So you
used to
guys are
gamble, that
all
would've been
in
the low.
favor because you're saying this is gonna keep people home. I hate to tell you this, but I doubt that the kind of money from sport wagering itself is going to keep people home. It's gonna be a drop in the bucket at this point. It's more like if it goes to education, it could make a bigger impact than it would keeping people home. So when you're making your argument, you gotta really look at the ways, if people stayed home and people didn't go to Las Vegas, of course, the Boyds wouldn't want that, or that, but how much money would we keep at home, and what would the taxes be at that point? And then the issue of that, I think the AG brought this up, that it would impact people's lives. I mean, people are gambling now, so what's the impact of all the people that are wagering illegally? I don't know, we even understand how much that is.
Wow.
Because it's such a, black market that, I don't know that.
And
we
certainly
can-
when you see, gun violence and knives and all the different types of things that happen at some of these places, it's reported on the news, nobody wants to see that happen. It's not good for any,
Yeah, and
anything.
there's a lot of complaints in my district about these gaming houses that are gaming and the people that come in and the drugs that go on and stuff. So it's a multitude of things, and I think, the least of it is keeping people here from going to the mainland, because I think there's other reasons why they go.
shows, yeah, definitely.
Okay, thank you. I have a follow-up question, Director. So, currently there's a task force on sports wagering.
Yes.
Do you think if we expand the purview of the group to look kind of at other forms of gaming that may help drive economic development activities in Hawaii?
I think you can never get too much information to make a bad decision. The more information we can get would be good for all of us to know. So yes.
But that's the very thing that the opponents don't want. They don't want it expanding. So
The
the more
proponents of this
no,
bill?
the people opposed to gambling,
Oh.
because they say that sports betting would just be a slippery slope. Because I introduced, slot machines in
Yeah.
resort areas, and, no
And we did
casino.
one at the airport,
Yeah,
yes.
no casinos, and, nothing in 7-Elevens, only resort, and still the opponents are like, no, it's like a slippery slope once you allow that. So that's what they're saying about this as well. So I don't know that Hawaii is going to expand it beyond, if we're even able to get sports betting. Anyway,
Any other questions from Senator Wakai?
My question's for Rebecca London.
You on Zoom, Rebecca?
Hi, Senator.
Hi, Rebecca. I'm looking at your testimony, and the numbers you have are far less than what was just mentioned in this hearing. You're comparing Hawaii and its population to West Virginia, and after year 2, they collected just $5 million in taxes. So considering the small amount of money that we're receiving, and then this bill also says that the state has to pay for not anti-gaming, but a Gamblers Anonymous type interdiction program. It has to set up a gaming commission. This really actually is not going to bring in a heck of a lot of money when we have to pay for those two entities with the $5 million, correct?
I appreciate that question, Senator. I think there's a couple of things to consider here. One of which is that this bill does not require setting up an entirely new gaming commission. This bill would direct DBED to run the program. It includes licensing fees, which a lot of states use to administer their sports wagering programs, so that the revenues may go to and be allocated to the priorities that the legislature has laid out. And finally, we at DraftKings and other members of the Sports Betting Alliance agree that, and it's a position that's taken by the National Council on Problem Gaming, that when gaming is legalized within a state, that it include resources for those that may be experiencing gaming issues. So that's why a portion of this is dedicated to those funds. To your specific question about West Virginia, what we've seen is that states with competitive models and reasonable tax rates can expect to see growth in the markets and continue to see that growth trajectory, so that each year sports wagering is bringing in more funds for the state for whatever priorities are important to that respective state.
Okay, but there is going to be expenditures for the state, whether we still have to hire somebody, whether it's a DBED or perhaps DCCA, to kind of collect the licensing. So there's a cost to the state there. And then that gambling program you mentioned is not going to be free. Somebody's going to pay for that. And I would assume it's going to come out of these taxes. So you're still looking at $5 million in revenues. And so people in this room have this belief that somehow this is going to bring in a lot of revenues. It's not going to bring in a lot of revenues. And also, how many jobs would this actually create in the state of Hawaii?
I appreciate that question. And as well, I think the discussion's been around the importance of not just revenue for the state, but the consumer protection angle of this. We know that there is illegal sports wagering happening in the state of Hawaii right now with no consumer protections. And that's really what this bill aims to do, is to protect the citizens of Hawaii. To your direct question about jobs created in the state of Hawaii, I can't say for certain, as that analysis hasn't been completed.
Well, I mean, it's all online. So you're actually going to create no jobs other than the jobs that we're going to create for the limiting gambling addiction and the person who's going to be looking at the licensing fees, there's absolutely no jobs that are going to be created by online sports betting, correct?
Again, Senator, that's not something I can speak to as that analysis hasn't been completed.
Okay, the bill as written right now has no numbers for the tax rate. What's the general rule of thumb for taxing of online sports betting?
Thank you for that question, Senator. What we see is the median tax rate is roughly 17% across the country. And what we at DraftKings and other members of the regulated industry encourage is a reasonable tax rate in that range so that regulated gaming companies can compete with the existing illicit market. If our tax rates are high, then we can't innovate our products. We can't offer some of the same interesting wagers that are already existing on the illegal market. And so a reasonable tax rate within that median range will enable us to convert that existing illegal market.
Okay, and that 17% would be tax on the gross bet or just the juice that the house takes?
So that the way the bill's written would be on the adjusted gross revenue. So it is once we have paid out all winning wagers, which is usually in the 90 to 93% range. So that's just 7% that's kept back with the wagering operator. And then there are some allowable deductions within that. And then that is what's ultimately taxed and submitted to the state.
Okay, so in gamblers' parlance, we're only taxing 17% of the juice, right? So if I put a $100 wager down, generally you pay $10 for the juice. We're only going to tax the $10, right? We're not taxing the whole $110 bet that's laid down, correct?
So, Senator, again, the way that this is written is based on an adjustment of the hold rate, which is what the operator will continue to hold on to after all winning wagers have been paid back out to the consumer. Again, that is within somewhere between the 90 to 93% range going back to the consumer.
Got it. Thank you. Thank you, Chair.
Senator Kim.
Just a follow-up, Rebecca. You talked about Virginia, and you mentioned that this amount then it is exponentially going to grow, right? And grow how? Yes. I mean, more residents are gonna be gambling, or more people from the outside coming in, or?
Thanks for that question, Senator. It was West Virginia that we used as the example since it has a population similar to Hawaii. And generally what we see is that there continue to be opportunities to convert the illegal market. One example is after legalization, there were companies that were illegally offering sports wagers that were shut down by law enforcement, and those states saw a 6% increase in the following month of legal revenue to the state. Excuse me. And so there are additional ways that the money, it doesn't all happen all at once, that conversion of the illegal market. So we do see continued growth, and we would expect, while not part of the projections, but given how much tourism there is in the state of Hawaii, we would consider that there would be additional revenue not considered in those projections, given that folks from the mainland would likely have the same apps should the state legalize this bill, which would allow for multiple operators in the state of Hawaii.
Well, one of the differences between West Virginia and Hawaii, obviously, is we're not contiguous with any other states. So you can't drive over to Hawaii and you can't, take advantage. Yes, we have tourism, but many times, those people have gaming in their states. And so I don't know that they would come here specifically for that purpose. But at some point, the illegal portion of the state will dwindle, and we're going to be left with just a straight line right, as far as growth.
So that's where we would expect that the market has reached maturity like any other market. But there is also continued interest in this industry. So we do continue to believe that even once there's full conversion, that there will continue to be some upward trajectory as we've continued to see in other states that have chosen to legalize sports betting.
What is the projection for West Virginia at its maturity of income coming in?
That's a great question, Senator. I don't have that information right in front of me, but I'd be happy to follow up with the committee.
Thank you.
Thank you. Seeing no further questions, I'm going straight into decision making. Okay, first up, Senate Bill 448 relating to agriculture. I'm gonna pass with an SD1 by defecting the effective date to July 1st, 2050. Appropriation is still unspecified, and I will reflect an appropriation amount in the committee report if a dollar amount is or when it will be received by ADC. Any discussion? Seeing none, chair goes aye. Vice Chair.
Vice Chair votes yes. Senator Fukunaga.
Aye.
Senator Kim.
Aye.
Senator Owa. Aye. Chair, your recommendation is adopted.
Thank you. Moving on, Senate Bill 827 relating to meat processing. I'm going to pass with an SD1 and incorporate the Attorney General's recommendation to include standards for grants of public money on page 3, line 5 as a new subsection D. Also include funding for 2 meat inspector positions and that local hunters be allowed to access the meat processing facility. Also defect the effective date to July 1st, 2050, and I will include in the committee report cost for meat processing inspector. Any discussion? Chair goes aye. Vice Chair for the vote.
Vice Chair votes yes. Senator Fukunaga.
Aye.
Senator Kim.
Aye.
Senator Owa.
Aye.
Chair, your recommendation is adopted.
Thank you. Next bill, Senate Bill 1269 relating to geothermal resources. We're passing with an SD1. I will blank out the 6 million appropriations amount, allow for that to be handled on the money side of it. But note the deleted amounts in the committee report, also defect the effective date to July 1st, 2050. Any discussion?
Yes, can we put into the committee report the need for DBED to consolidate or look at the different bills and geothermal and provide some kind of holistic?
Yep, can. Okay, any other discussion? See none, chair goes aye. Vice Chair, please.
Vice Chair votes yes. Senator Fukunaga.
Aye.
Senator Kim.
Aye.
Senator Owa.
No.
Chair, your recommendation is adopted.
Thank you. Next up, Senate Bill 1337 relating to the Stadium Authority, passing an SD1, correcting any technical errors and defecting the effective date to July 1st, 2050. Any discussion? Seeing none, chair votes aye. Vice Chair, please.
Vice Chair votes yes. Senator Fukunaga.
Aye.
Senator Kim.
Aye.
Senator Owa.
Aye.
Chair, your recommendation is adopted.
Thank you. Next up, Senate Bill 83 relating to hotels, passing with an SD1 and incorporating the amendments made by the Attorney General on page 2 of their testimony to include a preamble and a new section 3 relating to contractual relationships. These changes will help the bill withstand constitutional challenges. Any discussion? Seeing none, chair goes aye. Vice Chair, please.
I vote yes. Senator Fukunaga.
Aye.
Senator Kim.
Reservations.
Senator Owa.
No.
Chair, your recommendation is adopted.
Next bill, Senate Bill 732 relating to the film industry. Passing with an SD1, correct technical errors and defecting the defective date. Also waiting on some information that we're coming back from Creative Industries. And then, defecting the effective date to July 1st, 2025. Any discussion? Seeing none, chair votes aye. Vice Chair, please, for the vote.
Vice Chair votes yes. Senator Fukunaga.
Aye.
Senator Kim.
Aye.
Senator Owa.
Aye.
Chair, your recommendation is adopted.
Thank you. Last bill, Senate Bill 1569, relating to sports wagering. Amendments to the bill on an SD1, although there are many concerns raised about this bill, I believe that it warrants further discussion. So I would like to incorporate the Attorney General's penalty provision shown on page 3 of their testimony and the amended definition of gambling, also on page 3 Also incorporate the amendment suggested by DOTAX on page 24, lines 9 to 11 and lines 17 to 19 by stating that the allocation to the special fund be replaced by an appropriation with an unspecified set dollar amount. Also correct technical errors and defect the effective date to July 1st, 2050. In addition, the committee report should reflect that Hawaii must determine our future public policy objectives for gaming activities that will serve as a catalyst for economic activity, employment, investment, and tax revenues that will incorporate our unique culture and needed infrastructure throughout the state. Any discussion? Seeing none, chair goes aye. Vice Chair, please for the vote.
I vote with reservations. Senator Fukunaga.
Reservations.
Senator Kim.
Aye.
Senator Awa.
Aye.
Chair, your recommendation is adopted.
Thank you, and with that, we are adjourned.